The last step I want to go through to show you how to kind of polish off a game is we're going to add something called the Unity post-processing stack to our project. The Unity post-processing stack is this kind of Unity-generated series of scripts that you can add to your camera to make special effects. So in our case, I just want to make it like so our game, instead of just being flat colors, I want to add maybe some bloom and add some vignette to the edges, which are words that probably don't mean a whole lot to you right now. And that's okay because you're going to experience them. So to get the Unity post-processing stack in your game, you need to go to the asset store. So if you don't have the asset store window up, like I do not, go up to Window, go down to General, and then you want to open the asset store. On mine, it looks like Command 9 would have opened it, so on your computer, it's probably Control 9. But regardless, that's how I find it. Anytime you're missing any one of these windows, remember you can always come up to Window and try to just go through here and figure out which one it is you're missing. Usually, if it's one you use a lot, it's going to be in your general. So, like Scene, Game, Inspector, Hierarchy, Project, and Console, those are all super important things. So it makes sense they're all in the general one. Anyway, so we've got the asset store here. And I'm going to make a whole video just kind of detailing the asset store before our next project. But for right now, at the top to search, let's go to post, just processing. Okay. So you see this one that says post processing stack by Unity Technologies. That's the one we want. And it shows me that I've downloaded this before, which is, fine. I have. I downloaded it earlier today to test all this out. If you want to see some examples of what it looks like, you can always look at the pictures on the left here. So this left side is with nothing applied. The right side looks like they applied some bloom and some distance distortion, like a sci-fi quarter. It's all glowy now. Now, these are obviously super exaggerated examples to make it, look crazy, like to demonstrate what it can do. This kind of looks like a foggy morning scene. Very, very cool. So yeah, this is all the stuff that the post-processing stack can do, and it can do more than that. So I'm going to close out of that and come down here to where on yours it probably says download. Click download. On mine it just says import because I've already downloaded this to my computer. So if you hit download, it may take you to a sign-in screen. Just sign in with your school email using the sign in with Google, sign in with your school email, and then it'll take you back to this page. And then you can click download and then import. So once you do that, get to the import stage, it will bring this screen up. This is what it brings up anytime you are importing a package. So I don't know exactly what I want and what I don't want, and in that case, I'm just going to import everything. So just everything is checked. I click import, and it'll take a minute. It might take longer for you, might take less time. Who knows? With our computers, it's always a shot in the dark. Okay, so API update required. This project contains scripts and/or assemblies that use obsolete APIs. I have backed up my project, but I've also tested this before, and I know it's not going to break my game, so I'm going to hit I made a backup, go ahead. You should be okay also doing that. And once you do, it'll run through a few more little windows updating everything. Okay. My computer is throwing up a couple of errors because my computer is very low powered, and it's saying there's a shader on here that has higher requirements than what my computer can do. That's okay. I'm not going to be doing anything too complex. Your computers, I think, will probably not get this error, but if it does, it is fine. It will not do anything to you. It won't break everything, so you should be okay. Whenever you use the Unity post-processing stack, real quick, let me just double check over here. On Unity's website, because it is one of their assets, you can find all kinds of like in-depth documentation on it, and it tells you how to set it up. So if I go through this and you get confused, you can always refer back to this page. So if you go to docs.unity3d.com and then look at the manual and then search for the post-processing stack, you'll find all of this information that basically tells you how to apply it, and then it shows you how the checkboxes can do different things, so on and so forth. So I know that we need to apply it to our main camera. So on my main camera, I'm going to add a component, and obviously I've done this, so it's already filled in, but if you start typing in post, you'll get this script called post-processing behavior. Click to add that, and it's looking for a profile. We're going to make a new profile. I'm going to put it in my materials folder. So if you right click on materials, go up to create, now we have this new bit right here that's called post-processing profile. So if you click on that, I'm going to call it, I don't know, light effects. I don't know. It's not a great name, but it'll work. So light effects, it's got all these options on here, but it's not connected to our camera yet. So I'm going to go back to my camera. I'm going to click this right here, and then I'm going to find the one that I made right there. And now it is applied, which is exactly what I want. And I'm going to play with it. So go ahead and uncheck fog. It's not going to do anything for us. Fog will mainly be something that applies whenever we do 3D stuff. Right now, 2D, everything is equally distant from the camera, so it's not going to do anything. But the rest of this stuff, I'm going to try out a few things, but I encourage you to go through and just fiddle with it. You're not going to break anything. You could always just uncheck the box and turn things off. You don't have to worry about something terrible happening by you messing around with it. All this is light effects, essentially. So I do know I want to add a vignette. I think it kind of like adds some drama to the scene. You can change how the vignette is. I'm using classic. I think the color, I want to make it kind of like a little bit of a purple shade. I don't know, something like that. I think that's kind of cool. And I'm going to make the intensity a little bit less. So I'm just going to grab the slider, and you can make it like really intense, right? That's not necessary for mine though. I think just enough to make it feel dramatic. And you can just, like I said, play with these sliders until you get it the way you want. And if you hate it, you can always get rid of it. I like that it makes my score stand out a little better. That's kind of nice. Let's look at grain. Let's see what grain looks like. Oh, grain. Let's see if turning down the intensity of it makes it a little less abrasive. Hmm. I don't like this one for my game, but it might look good on your game. So go ahead and play with it. See if you like it or not. I'm not a huge fan. I do kind of like that it like adds this kind of techno feel, but I'm gonna leave it alone. So I'm gonna turn grain off. Chromatic aberration. I don't think I'm gonna use that. Color grading changes the color in the scene. So I'm gonna try a little bit of this. I'm gonna change it to filmic, which basically means I'm going to adjust the colors of the scene. I want my game to feel a little bit warm. So temperature, cool is going to tend towards blue, warm is going to tend towards red. So you can see as I do this, it goes whoop, and as I do this, it gets cold. I want it to be a little bit warm. I don't want a lot of tint, but maybe I want to up the contrast just a little bit. And do I want to saturate my game more? Nah. The desaturation kind of has like this cool retro feel. I'm going to add that back to, nope, that's 1. I want it to be at 1. I don't want to shift my hue. I'm not going to play with these, obviously. Like I said, you can do whatever you want. See what bloom does here. Give it a little bit of a glow. Kind of makes it so it looks like a dreamscape, right? It's easy to get a little overboard with bloom, so be careful. Let's see. What does that look like turned off? Yeah, I kind of like that effect. Dirt, you can add, like, if you want to add, like, a dirt lens dirt. You can. Let's add lens dirt 01. Let's see what that looks like. It's a texture. Kind of cool. Kind of adds like a bit of a sparkle effect to my scene. Yeah, all right. I'll leave that on there. There's lots of them. If you go to textures, you just click on the little selector and type in dirt. There's a bunch that came with it, so you can just kind of look through all that stuff. Eye adaptation, don't want that. I maybe want shutters or motion blur turned on, possibly, so that whenever my ball is in motion, it'll look kind of cool. Let's try this. See what it looks like while we play the game. Kind of makes our ball feel a little bit more dynamic. Maybe I shouldn't be playtesting this on my hardest level, but yeah, here we are. Okay, I like how that looks. You may not. You might want to change it. That's up to you. Okay. Depth of field's not going to matter because we have an orthographic camera. Kind of the same thing with ambient occlusion. So yeah, I think I'm happy with these effects. Next, you'll notice that whenever I went to my last screen, obviously none of those effects applied because it is only on the camera that is on this particular scene. So I'm going to, what you could do is add the post-processing stack to every camera in every scene. Or instead of going through and doing that to every camera on every scene, we could prefab our camera and just replace the camera in every scene. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to drag it down into my prefabs, save my scene, and then I'm just going to go through all of my scenes and replace it. Now, it may not be the most streamlined process, but it will work. So I'm just going to go through, add my new camera. You'll notice the background colors are going to change to what I had on that last scene, and that's fine. I can go back and edit that later. It made extra steps for myself, so in the future, now that I've done this once, maybe I want to consider prefabbing my camera at the beginning of my game so I don't have to go through this process anymore. So yeah, got my main camera on my windscreen. I'm going to put it on my start screen. I think I'll just probably speed through this process. Make sure you save every scene. All right, so I should have everything in my game now. I'm going to switch this scene back over to the scene view. Let's find... I'm going to zoom in where I know the game is going to be on the next scene. Like so. Okay, so let's give her a play. So let's start at the start screen. I still haven't fixed my buttons, but I'll go back and do that before I finish exporting my game. But I really like this whole effect it's got going for it. So this is what my first level looks like. I am zoomed way in over here, so let's fix this. Whoop. I just like being able to see what's going on in my scene. I like the motion blur. I do think maybe my ball is getting a little bit lost. That's okay. I can change the sprite a little bit to make it more contrasty. Let's go through to my next level. My effects are also a little bit dark. So like I said, this is going to be a process of tweaking and finalizing everything that, making it the way you want it to look. So I'm going to stop telling you exactly what to do right here. You can add the post-processing stack to your game, add any effects that you want to add to your game to make it feel kind of fancy, make it polished and nice. And then I have a challenge for you. I will give you extra credit points on this project if you can add a life system to your game. So make it so that once you fall through the death barrier, you lose a life instead of dying immediately. How you do that is up to you, but I will say some hints. Obviously, you're going to need to put some of your information so that it persists between scenes, right? So something else that does that is your score. So think about how we set up the score and how you could adjust that same method to set up a life system. Um, where would you put this on your screen? I don't know. That's up to you. Maybe you want to put something over here that says lives equal, however many, or just has a number right here that you could feed into. Think about how you would subtract it, where you would call a death on the ball flying through, probably wherever the event is triggered to go to the game over scene. Instead of going to game over, you might change that to an if statement saying, if lives is greater than or less than one, then go to game over, right? So you have the tools you need to accomplish this, but I'm just not going to explicitly tell you how to do them. We will be adding a life system in our next game, so you will get instructions later how to do it. So don't be worried that if you don't do it now, you're never going to learn how to do it, because you definitely will. But I want you to take this and kind of make it your own a little bit. My game is pretty much done at this point, so I think that now is the time to have it play tested, have some people play it, and then once we have gone through a playtesting phase, we'll upload it. I'll put it on the website, and we'll move on to the next game. So you're done. Congratulations. You made your first game that is 2D based with sprites and has a lot of very interesting features. We've got health, we've got physics, we've got scorekeeping, we've got methods for going to levels and methods for death. So yeah, you've got the building blocks to a pretty solid game already. So congratulations on finishing Unit 3.